ਸਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬਿਜ਼ੀ ਪਲਾਜ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਦਿਨ ਦਹਾੜੇ ਵਾਪਰੀ ਕਾਤਲਾਨਾ ਸ਼ੂਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਮਾਮਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਜ ਇੰਟੀਗ੍ਰੇਟਿਡ ਹੋਮਿਸਾਈਡ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਟੀਮ ਜਾਣੀ ਕਿ IHIT ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। IHIT ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਘਟਨਾ ਦਾ ਪੀੜਤ ਇੱਕ 30 ਤੋਂ 40 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨ ਦਾ ਆਦਮੀ ਸੀ। ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ IHIT ਨੇ ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੀ ਪਛਾਣ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਘਟਨਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਤੇ ਕੁਝ ਕਲੇਮਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਪੋਸਟਸ ਵੀ ਖੂਬ ਵਾਇਰਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਇਹ ਕਲੇਮਸ ਭਰੋਸੇਯੋਗ ਹਨ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਵਿਕਟਿਮ ਦੀ ਆਈਡੈਂਟੀਟੀ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ, ਇਸ ਸਭ ਕਾਸੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ IHIT ਤੋਂ ਸਰਜੈਂਟ ਫਰੀਡਾ ਫੋਂਗ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। Sergeant Fong, please share the update about the shooting that happened yesterday.
Yesterday, just after 3 p.m., Surrey Police Service responded to calls of a shooting at a business near 130th Street and 76th Avenue. As you know, since that time, IHIT has assumed conduct of the investigation, and we continue to work in partnership with SPS to advance the case. While the case is still early on and the motive is still under investigation, right now what we can share is that this was believed to be a targeted incident limited to a business that was on the second floor of the complex. What we also know is that the victim is a man in his 30s and he was at his place of work at the time of the shooting. We're working closely with the victim's family, including doing the notifications, and what we're doing is establishing background information and the timeline leading up to the shooting in hopes of identifying a motive. The victim had no criminal history and he was not previously the target of any reported threats or extortion.
And why is the identity of the victim not being shared yet?
The cases are different every time, and the decision mostly rests on whether or not identifying the victim tends to lead to furthering the investigation. So even though right now we're not in a position to identify the victim, because as I said, the notifications are underway and we're working closely with the family, the other aspect that we need to account for is whether or not identifying the victim tends to further the investigation. So it can change in the next few days if the investigative team learns more and determine that identifying the victim will help the investigation, then we will be prepared to make his name public at that point.
I know this might be very early to ask the question that I'm about to ask, but have you been able to so far been able to understand if this is extortion related or gangs related, or is what was the motive behind this killing?
Well, it is early because we're only 24 hours into the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what we are able to say is that the victim himself was not previously the target of any reported threats or extortion. This means that in our police database, I can confirm that the victim never reported being threatened or extorted. And so that is the only information that we have gotten so far. But we're always keeping this in the back of our minds, in terms of motivation, whether or not it could be extortion related or gang related or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to add to it is that the victim had no criminal history, meaning he also had no apparent gang affiliation. So at this time, that's the only information that we can go by. But as we interview more witnesses and family and we gain an understanding of the victim's lifestyle, that could change, and we would be prepared to update the public as needed.
And one last question, Sergeant. There are some social media posts about the victim that are getting circulated. Have you come across them?
We are aware of a number of claims being made online regarding the shooting yesterday. As with all of our investigations, we do specifically task our analytical team to do what we call open source queries, meaning they're social media, and queries that are done through online sources. So based on that, we will filter out what could be viable in terms of information and what might be legitimate, and then we follow up on each of those kind of like comments and claims based on priority. So we're aware of it, but right now the priority as it stands, because we're so early in the investigation, is kind of like the boots on the ground police response. So right now, the priority is canvassing in the area for witnesses and video, and processing the crime scene at the business complex, and then supporting and talking to the family members and establishing the background information that we need. So having said that, we are seeking dash cam footage from anyone who was in the area of 130th Street and 76th Avenue yesterday, which was May 4th, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Anyone who was in the area is encouraged to contact IHIT.
And if I'm understanding this right, these social media posts are being investigated as well.
That's right. We collect them, and and there are often like an abundance of social media content. So we do collect them, and then they are prioritized for follow-up by our investigative team.
If there's anything to add from your side, you can say that, please.
Yeah, this was a brazen shooting, and showed a complete disregard for public safety. So it is our priority to continue to investigate diligently. And we're actively pursuing a number of tasks to identify the people who are involved.
Thank you very much for taking time and connecting, Sergeant Fong.
No problem.